Good morning. Welcome back and thanks for joining me. It's Judy from Thistledew Creations, and today I'm going to do my little mason jar project. A while back I did mason jar booklets with these, and I think I've already given them all away in Happy Mail, but I'll link the video where I made them for you because I used these same printables. So I'm not sure where I got these, but if I can find it, I'll link it below. So these I've printed onto photo paper, glossy photo paper, so that it would look like real glass, the jar. And I've made it into this little hidden note pad, or just note. So I used cardstock for this so that it would go in and out of this pocket easily without getting all crumpled up. And I printed little lines on it with my Tim Hortons cup wrapper. Very faint lines, and inked the edges, added some embellishments, inked the whole thing up. So I've inked it with the O2 ink Blushing and Brofinch from Melina Crafts for the aqua, and just Forever in Time Silver for the lid. And then I added real twine in front of this printed twine, bow, and then a button on top of the bow instead of the heart. And then I added little dragonfly cutouts in the middle of the jar. I think on this one I was kind of thinking I might do bees. Let's see if I've got some that are small enough when we get to that point. So let's start with, like, I've already printed them 4 on a page because I had 8.5 by 11 photo paper in that free Facebook Marketplace free office supplies haul that I did recently, and I'll link that below as well. So I was able to print 4 of these on a page. I'm not sure how to tell you how to do that because I have a certain way that it only works a certain way on my printer and computer. But if you can figure out how to print 4 things on a page, that's what I did there. And so then the first thing I did, of course, was just fussy cut them out. And I left a small white border around, quite small. This one little spot that I see, little catch in my edge. And so the first thing I want to do is cut the lid off. So what I did on this one was I cut the lid and the bottom of the heart. I ended up covering the heart, so I probably didn't need to do that, but I'm going to do it the same way again. So I go just below the lid and cut right through that string. And then I'll cut the heart shape out, bottom of the heart. And then I left this little bit attached and I inked it. See that? I inked it in Vintage Photo. I'm not so sure that you need to do that, but that's what I've done, so I'm going to do it again. You could certainly probably just get rid of it, or like cut it really close, but then I'm sure that would just get bent. So now that I've got my 2 pieces, I want to back this piece with the brown cardstock, and I want to back this piece with brown cardstock and leave it long. So basically I'm going to take both of them and glue them onto this brown cardstock, craft cardstock. So this is out of the Dollarama paper pads that are out again. They were gone for a while in Ontario, in the few stores that I shop anyway. So it's a package of 60 for $4.25. And the last time when my niece found them, I got her to get me 4 packs. So I'm set for a while. I keep seeing them and I want to buy more, but I know I've got enough for a while. Now, the other thing is I inked mine after. I inked it this morning after, like, I put them together last night and then I inked them this morning. You could certainly ink them now. So So I used the Blushing and Brofinch and a blending brush. And I did practice on here first, and I realized it's really splotchy when you first set down. So what I did was I set down off of the item and then swirled onto the item like this. And then just spread that around as much as it will spread. It's going to depend on how much ink you have on your brush. But just don't set down right on your item because you'll get a blotch. Even that is a little dark there, but I can blend it out while it's still wet. And it's supposed to look like old glass, so it doesn't matter if it's a little bit blotchy. I was tempted to flick some water at it and get some little bubbles in it, but I haven't done that. I might try it on here and see how it looks. So I know that's something you can do with VO2 inks, is make them react with water. And see how it's kind of moving it a little bit. And then if you dab it, it might, yeah, it's not giving me kind of the bubble glass effect that I was thinking. I would need much smaller splotches. So anyway, that's inked. And then the lid, I inked with the silver. Because they're usually like that tin color. I've got some new ones that are quite bright, and I've got some old ones that are quite dingy. But I wanted it silver for sure. You don't necessarily want it real sparkly. They're not, the brand new ones are a little bit shiny, but in general, they're kind of dingy when they start to age. And then I just inked the rest of this with the vintage photo, just so that it's not so white. It's kind of in the background when the thing's completely done. Okay, so that's the inking done. And then we'll take our brown sheet. And of course, this is going to be a pocket, so we only want to glue it around the outside edges. Using the tacky glue. I think these are going to be a real hit at the family reunion. We all kind of like mason jars and country things like that. So just let that dry. And then this one, I want to make sure that I have enough length for this piece to go down inside. It doesn't have to be, yeah, it could be about here. And that gets glued right down. So I'm just going to draw myself a little mark. And this gets glue all over. And then the next thing I did was cut them out. Just going to cut this off. Save it for another project. cut them pretty much flush with the fussy cut. So this one I just kind of arced a little bit and connected these two lines. Sorry, I'm doing it so I can see. I just want to kind of cut a graceful shoulder on there. See how I kind of did that? It's not perfect, but it's an arc across there. That's what I did, so that's what I'll do again. And just cutting it flush with my cutting from yesterday. I cut these out yesterday. And I just love the way this ink has given them just the right color. And then if you want, you can go around and ink those edges. You could even antique them with some vintage photo if you wanted. I think I'm going to keep mine fairly clean looking. And then this piece is a little trickier. I had to kind of figure out how long it could be. So this one fits down in and it seats right together. So there's room for that whole little paper pad inside there. So I think what I'm going to do is just use this and trace it to get it the same again. It's the full length, actually a little bit shorter, full length of this card that I left, which is fine. So I just had to cut a little shoulder here. And same thing over on this side. So that it would fit in, because this angles in. Now, if I didn't glue it till here, I could have made this wider, but I kind of just wanted to make sure that this wasn't a loose flap. So I went ahead and had this as a narrower little insert. And just cut straight up to the lid and then in, and then I'll just follow the little undulations of the lid here. Cut around this little bow again, and like I said, the bow could just come off, but there's some of it coming down into the jar, so that's why I left it. It wouldn't really make sense for that to be there if this wasn't there, even though I'm putting another bow over top of it. It can be like the shadow of the bow above it, something like that in our imagination. And this kind of looks like a samurai sword or something. That goes right up to the tip of the heart and then across. I still gotta cut that inside edge. And I left that wide just so that it wouldn't be frail. Trying to just save little snips of this brown paper instead of just throwing them away. Things I can use for backing sentiments and stuff. Okay, so then this, I did rounded corners on the bottom edges so it'll go in and out of the pocket easier. Won't get caught. And I inked the edges in ground espresso. I didn't ink the lid, just the brown paper. And the whole back I inked. So I felt it looked unfinished if I only inked part of it. And then I'm going to put lines for writing on, which you don't really need, but it just makes it look cute, I think. And I use the Tim Hortons cup liner or wrapper. I just want to cut this so that it's straight so that I can use that as a guide, because I got the first one a little crooked, which isn't the end of the world, but if I figure out a way to prevent that, then I will. I'm using my black archival ink for this and just putting it right onto the back side of the cup wrapper and using that as a stamp. Just giving a little rub down so that it'll transfer the ink. And it gives me quite faint lines, quite fine spaced together lines as well. There we go. So that's now ready to be put together if the glue's dried yet. So that just goes right together nice and tidy. It looks cute just as it is, but I dressed it up. Not much, just with some twine to form another bow. And what I did, I had this twine, I think I mentioned it in another video recently, where it was from tags that I didn't use. So I'm going to use it here. And what I did was, for that one, just to get those tails a little longer, I tied it in a knot. And then I tied a bow with it. You could just use a longer piece, but I wanted to use this up. It does make it a little bit bulky here, but I'm not going to worry about that. And just control the width of your bow to about what you want. And then you just have to convince these tails to hang down. Just give them a good hard tug and then flatten that out as much as you can. I'm going to just separate these to do the decorating so I don't accidentally glue them together. So I've got lots of surface area here to glue on those knots. And then I've prepared, instead of the heart or the star, I prepared a butterfly with pink string already through it. It looks like it's not drying. I rubbed it on the carved jade. It'll dry eventually. I'm going to go ahead and glue it down. So I'll put the glue on here where it might possibly make contact. And then just set it down on there. Shoot. My string's in the glue. I might end up cutting that off a little bit. And then I said I was going to try to find some bees. So let's see if I have some small enough bees. I know I had some little stickers of bees. I'll put a bee box up here too, don't I? So the ones I'm looking for are tiny. I've got die cut bees, pictures of bees, all sorts of bees. Just want to make sure I get something that looks to be the right scale for the jar. I have these ones. I could probably just get a couple of those. Maybe I'd always want to have 3. I could even put some honeycomb in the jar. My papa always had a jar of honeycomb on the kitchen table. honeycomb with the honey right in it, in a jar. I always thought that was so neat because we didn't do that at home. Didn't have that at home. Let's see what else is here. I like the dragonflies, but because we are the barn house bees, I thought maybe bees would be better. Those ones are too big, but I thought I had tiny little bee stickers. Where they would be. Unless they're in the bottom of the drawer here. I think I'm going to go with the 3 bees. And then the only other thing would be like a little honey label or something. So I could go to these labels that I cut out yesterday and just see. There isn't one that says honey. They're all about beekeeping. So if I can find a little label that says honey, I'll put that on there too. But let's put this honeycomb down in the bottom of the jar. And this is going to be tricky. If anyone has a really good trick for gluing these teensy things, put it in the comments below. I'd be happy to try it out. I know one thing I saw was using like a brayer or a roller. I may just have to try that one of these times. And because I don't have much room, I think I'm just going to put one. I'm going to smarten up and use my tweezers. I think what I'm going to try is taking some of the excess off. By doing that. And then I'm getting 2 glued up for the price of 1. Just so it's not so messy, more than anything. That bee can be touching or even overlapping the honey comb. And then this one just needs a little bit more. Have him going this way. So that one went a lot faster than the first one, as you can imagine. But what a quick little project once you've got them cut out, printed and cut out. It's a quick little project and a lot of fun. And then you could also, of course, ink and write on the back. I'll probably just ink it up and sign it and date it. I didn't ink the back of this main body before. Fix that. And that's that. Same thing here. I didn't ink the back of the jar. And you don't have to use the brown paper. You could use black paper and put white lines, or you could use white paper and leave it really kind of more clean looking. white paper with gingham ribbon or something would be cute. I keep getting my black and my vintage photo mixed up. So thanks for joining me today. I'm going to make a few more of these. I might see about some smaller bees, or maybe even some little tiny like firefly type bugs to put inside. But you could also put fruits inside, or more honey, or vegetables like pickles and canning and stuff. So have fun with it. It's just an empty jar waiting to be filled. So I hope you've enjoyed that little project. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. But most of all, have a great day and happy crafting.